Hello everyone, now the topic that we will take for prosthodontics is in the dental material will be casting procedure. Now the casting procedure is a technique that is being used by a prosthodontist very regularly and oftenly. And that is because this procedure resembles to make the crowns, to make the fixed partial dentures, to make any cast partial dentures. Casting is important. So doing so many castings as a prosthodontist, this becomes a very bread and butter topic for us, and it is for that we need to know how the procedure follows and what are the important thing that we should keep in mind for doing casting. So that is all about introduction. What are the things that comes under casting procedure? Initially we will prepare the teeth, then the impression is made. Then you have to even make a gypsum cast out of it. You will prepare the wax pattern. In the wax pattern, you will have a precision dental casting technique to convert it to the framework. Now, what is that casting technique consist of? What are the steps it consists of? So, it consists of spruing the wax pattern, then investing the wax pattern. It may all seem to be like, what is it happening? We'll see the steps, we'll understand that. So the steps being like spruing the wax pattern, then you have to invest the wax pattern, then you have to burn out the wax pattern, then the casting the dental alloy, deflasking the cast, sandblasting the framework, finishing of the framework starts with spruing of the wax pattern. What is a sprue firstly? What is a sprue initially? Now sprue is nothing but those red color long sticks that you can see is of sprue, that is made up of like this. These are the sprue. So the sprues are attached from the sprue base to the wax patterns. Now what is the use of sprue? Sprue is nothing but it's like a channel through which the wax is going to get out by the burnout procedure. What will happen if you burn a wax? The wax will melt. So here the same way, we have to melt out the wax, and since we are covering the entire area with investment material, there will be a bonding, there will be a like a house, the closed area from where inside wax is being taken out, and there we have to flow the metal inside. So how we want the metal to flow? It has to flow where there is straight path. So the sprue that we will attach has to be straight. It must allow the molten wax to escape from the mold. And then also, what else the sprue should be allowing? It should be enable the molten metal to flow into that particular mold with a little turbulence if possible. How will we get that turbulence? We'll see that also with the help of the reservoirs and the straight line pattern. The metal within it must remain molten slightly longer than that of the alloy that we are doing that has a field of the mold. Now this will provide a reservoir to compensate for the shrinkage which will happen during solidification. So what are the types of sprue that we can have? We can have sprues of wax, we can have sprues of plastics, we can have sprue of a melting metal but whose melting temperature is less than the burnout temperature because we have to burn it out at the end of the day. So these are the multiple sprues you can see which is attached for a cast partial denture. For a single crown, single sprues are also fine. These are types of the sprue that I spoke about. Coming to the diameter and the length. See, in general, what happens, larger the diameter of the sprue is recommended because this improves the flow of the molten metal which has to go in that. Because wax has to burn out and the metal has to go. So more larger the wax, more metal will go. So more the diameter, like in molars, the sprue diameter should be more, 2.5. Because the length is 4.5. Premolars around 2. Whereas length should be 4.5 again. For large inlays, again you have to keep the length more, 4.5, and 1.5 of the width is fine, diameter is fine. Small inlays, 1 diameter is fine, millimeter, and length should be around 3.5 millimeters. Now it is very important to note here is that after placing the pattern in the ring, it should be below, from the pattern, this distance, so we can see here, this distance from the last wax pattern to the above pattern, if you're using a phosphate bonded, should be around 3 to 4 mm. If I'm using a gypsum bonded, 6 mm of space is required from the casting ring to that of the wax pattern. But if it is not done, what will happen? Proper vent form will take place and porosity, that is back pressure porosity, will be coming up. And if the diameter is not proper, then what will happen? Again, there will be a porosity. What kind of porosity? Suck back porosity will be there. If the place from the wax pattern to the casting ring is not proper, 3 to 4 mm for phosphate bonded and 6 mm for gypsum bonded, then what will happen? Back pressure porosity. If the diameter of the sprue is not proper, then what will happen? Suck back porosity will take place. Because what will happen, the reservoir which is there in between, we can see the round red color bulky portion, those are called the reservoirs. Now those reservoirs which is there, that will solidify first in the reservoir. The metal will solidify over there. So what will happen? There will be a suck back porosity in that particular region. Attachment of the sprue. Now these are the different types of sprue that you have available in this kind of various diameters. The sprue attachment should be in the thickest portion of the wax pattern, in the cross section. If you see wax pattern, wherever there will be the thickest portion of the wax pattern, the sprue has to be attached over there, because it is best for the molten metal to flow from the thick section to the thin section. So that is the reason. And the margins are not to be reversed. Like the margin should be kept on the other end because those are thin, and it should be smoothened to minimize the turbulence, of course. Pattern of sprueing, there can be direct pattern or indirect or gate control patterns, like we see here, like gate control or indirect patterns, or we have even the direct patterns with us. These are the direct sprueing we can see, and these are indirect or gate control sprueing, where we have a reservoir bar altogether. And now the distance between each wax pattern, how much can it be? How much maximum we can give? So the interdistance between the two wax patterns should be 1.5 mm. 1.5 mm of distance should be there. Now coming to reservoir. Now what is a reservoir? Reservoir is added to a sprue network to prevent localized shrinkage porosity, for example, let us say it like that. Because what will happen, the metal when it is flowing, if it solidifies first in that area and doesn't reach till the upper area, what will happen? There is a hollow space over there. So that will create a suck back porosity. It will, suck back the molten metal over there. So when the molten metal fills the heated casting ring, the pattern area solidifies first, and then the reservoir area, because of the larger mass of the alloy and position of the heat in the center of the ring. So that is how it should be. The sprue former direction, how should be the direction? So it should be directed away from any thin or delicate parts of the pattern. And because the molten metal may be like a braid or fracture investment in this area, so that should be all away and it should not result in fracture. So that is the reason casting failure should not happen. So it should be as away from that of the pattern. It should not be attached at the right angle to a broader flat surface, because it will lead to hot spots in those areas. So those hot spots which will be led, that will create turbulence and severe porosity will be caused in between the wax patterns. So the crown which is created will have a severe porosity. So that is the reason we should not create any hot spot in those areas. So do not keep it in 90 degree. Coming to crucible former. Now this is a crucible former made for cast partial denture. Sprue is attached to a crucible former. We know that usually made up of, it is made of a rubber which consists of a base like this, crucible former. See, crucible formers, there is a base which is there which consists of the base during investing the pattern. Exact shape of the crucible depends upon the type of casting machine that you are using, and you are using an open casting or a closed casting, that is with casting ring or without casting ring. It helps to position the wax, like this is a without casting ring we are doing, though I have adapted wax all over. Now the earlier pictures had a casting ring all along, like this had a casting ring all over. So it helps in positioning the wax pattern near to the end of the casting ring without interfering or increasing the length of the sprue which we are using. The casting crucibles, that can be of clay, that can be of carbon or quartz. Clay we will be using in noble metal or high noble alloys. Carbon for high noble alloys again, and quartz for high fusing alloy of any type. Quartz is used. This is a vacuum for investing material. We are investing the pattern, for that we are doing, and then casting ring. You can see the casting ring with the wax pattern. We are pouring the investment material. See the crucible former outside, the pattern, and 3 mm clearance. So this is for the phosphate bonded. If it would have been for a gypsum bonded, we require 6 mm of clearance. We have a ceramic paper liner or a casting